Hello everyone, I am Park. Today we continue to discuss family relationships. In the previous lecture, we talked about some phenomena and issues that arise in relatively affluent or middle-class families concerning their children, especially during their early years when they are not yet mature. Now we will delve into the problems that arise in the affectionate bond between parents and children in impoverished families in this world. Regardless of the country or ethnicity, parents have affection for their children. There is always a sense of family love, except in some of the most primitive societies. Even in those societies, family love still exists, but the way it is expressed or the attitudes towards this affection may differ. You cannot say there is no family love. However, how this love is manifested or how they perceive this issue varies among all ethnicities and families due to different environments and conditions. This difference, of course, has a decisive impact on the children's future. Sometimes we cannot overlook how much family love during their early years affects them. I can confidently say that it influences their entire life. I have encountered such a family where the circumstances are relatively impoverished and there are 4 children. The head of the family works outside supporting the entire family due to the poverty of the country and region. It doesn't mean that the male head of the family lacks family love. He loves his children and takes them out to play or sends them to school, among other things. However, I noticed a very disheartening or puzzling phenomenon concerning this man. During the time he worked for me, after I paid him his wages, he would give half or a small portion of it to his wife for the family as living expenses. The other half, though, he spent on drinking and indulgence outside, buying himself his favorite food, including meat, as their family couldn't afford meat. So, he would enjoy it outside. One time I curiously asked him, "Why can't you buy food for the whole family?" His response was quite interesting. He said, "I need to maintain my physical strength and high spirits. I want to eat some good food outside, to work hard and earn enough money to feed my family. As for them, the children and wife at home, even though their food might be slightly worse, as long as they can fill their stomachs, it's enough." At first I thought this phenomenon was a coincidence or a unique case, but not long after I investigated many similar families and almost all exhibited the same pattern. This made me truly puzzled. How can we define this kind of family love? How do we define these interpersonal relationships? Even though they are impoverished, poverty cannot suffocate family love. Where does family love manifest? Isn't it evident in their willingness to share both joys and hardships? So do you think these people are doing right or wrong? How do you evaluate them? If you say they are wrong, they have their reasons to justify their actions. If you say they are right, I truly don't understand. Does the family love of these people still have meaning and necessity? So many times we should not only focus on family love within our immediate surroundings. It is crucial to broaden our horizons and observe family relationships in various other environments and places. Family love can manifest in significantly different ways depending on the context. Many times I find it challenging to provide a unified definition or expression of family love because it is not realistic to do so in all different countries and regions. In various economic environments and living conditions, family love is manifested in countless diverse ways. This example is given because many people tend to view and analyze problems using their habitual thinking, which can be clearly stated as extremely wrong. Your habitual thinking is formed within a specific environment and is not shaped under conditions universally recognized by everyone. Especially when we talk about family affection, it is not just a theory, it should be considered a phenomenon. This phenomenon manifests differently in all families worldwide. We should understand that family affection is an irreplaceable emotion, especially in the context of human life. Without this kind of family affection, can we still be considered human? However, despite the display of family affection, there are many puzzling phenomena. Each of us has our understanding of family affection. However, this understanding is merely our viewpoint and cannot possibly cover all family relationships. In this complex web of social connections, the manifestations of family affection are diverse and peculiar. We encounter many incomprehensible family relationships, yet they undeniably exist. Objectively, sometimes when witnessing these phenomena I can't help but wonder, are these occurrences a result of life as hardships or a distortion of human nature? Are they a consequence of societal decay or a loss of morality? Regardless of whether these questions have answers or not, they are objective facts that exist in a considerable portion of society. They may even be a widespread phenomenon. None of us can change these realities. We can only objectively observe them and gradually influence them, so we cannot assume that whatever we think is correct. That's not realistic. Many things we may consider incorrect do indeed exist. Perhaps this is the tragic aspect of human nature. There are even poorer families where children at the age of 2 or 3, when they start walking, are already expected to do certain things as their parents have to arrange tasks for them. At this stage, their sole purpose and life goal are merely to have enough to eat. In such circumstances, they may not even have the luxury to consider the existence of family affection. This phenomenon is widely prevalent in many impoverished regions and countries. It might be difficult for many to comprehend if they have not experienced it, but I assure you it is a reality. After understanding these situations, I am unsure how to comprehensively discuss family affection, as its manifestations are incredibly diverse. Due to the various forms of these expressions, we see different communities and groups arising in our world. We can imagine in a family lacking family affection, will the child as they grow older still feel the same affection? Will they possess a strong sense of family affection towards their own family and parents in the future? I believe it won't happen either. That's precisely why I continue to discuss family affection here, because family affection will undoubtedly influence the future lives of children and shape their worldview, life principles, and values. Particularly, it impacts their worldview. The purpose of discussing family affection is to ensure that everyone correctly understands and rediscovers this primal bond that exists among us as a human collective. Family affection, despite the various issues it may present, is fundamentally tied to the concept of emotion because it arises from human emotions. Therefore, to address the problems related to family affection, we must approach them comprehensively, rationally, and sensibly. We should not sacrifice our life principles, worldview, or the social environment we rely on for the sake of emotion alone. We must not use family affection as a means or a chain to manipulate, exploit, or enslave others. The existence of family affection represents the most beautiful emotion in humanity. If you use it for other purposes or exploit it for different ends, you not only misuse family affection but also destroy all the genuine emotions shared between individuals. Moreover, you disrupt the path of children's future lives. In the context of family affection, we have primarily discussed the relationship between parents and children. However, in reality, there is another type of relationship, which is the sibling bond between brothers and sisters. The sibling bond between brothers and sisters often tends to be less intense compared to the parent-child relationship. The reasons for this difference are not entirely clear. However, in reality, many siblings do not have very harmonious relationships, and their affection for each other might appear quite ordinary or even indifferent. Being able to handle and nurture sibling relationships is in fact a significant aspect of human life. It plays a crucial role in our overall well-being and contributes to the dynamics of family life. Based on my current understanding, it appears that there are only a few instances where siblings manage to handle their relationships well. More often, sibling relationships tend to revolve around mutual requests for help or other additional favors rather than being purely based on affection. Moreover, these relationships may sometimes serve as excuses for fulfilling personal desires. As a result, the bond of family affection among siblings is often weakened, and in many families, siblings have minimal interaction with each other. Indeed, the reasons for the weakening of sibling relationships can be attributed to the factors mentioned earlier, along with others such as elderly care responsibilities, family property disputes, and various economic burdens. When family affection becomes entangled with economic or obligatory burdens, it can lead to changes like these relationships, which may occur across a majority of families regardless of their wealth or poverty. These issues often result in making the sibling bond more distant, complex, and even less compatible passionate. As a result, new social problems arise from these situations. We must acknowledge that these issues are very real for anyone involved, such as elderly care responsibilities or family property disputes. However, those family affection have to be entangled in these forms should it be manifested in such a way. At least from my perspective, I believe it should not. Indeed, we must acknowledge that not everyone among siblings is noble, moral, or well-educated. Each individual carries their selfishness, and they may harbor unreasonable demands. Consequently, the affection between siblings may gradually weaken, leading to a situation where they become estranged or even feel like strangers to each other. In all the families around the world, there may be a limited number of truly harmonious sibling relationships. While I haven't conducted a specific statistical analysis, I believe they are not very common. Moreover, in the current social environment, the sibling bond is often not given enough importance and is forgotten by many. It seems that people have neglected the significance of sibling affection. Consequently, in different economic conditions and environments, the sibling bond has become more complicated and indifferent. Many siblings lack trust in each other and don't feel any warmth or fondness toward one another. The reasons behind this phenomenon are numerous and complex, but they ultimately revolve around social factors and family upbringing. The role of family education is particularly crucial in shaping these dynamics. While we may not be able to change societal factors, family education, specifically the way parents educate their children, plays a significant role in determining whether sibling relationships can be managed effectively. In reality, the way some parents educate their children is far from ideal. To put it frankly, some aspects are less praiseworthy. This kind of family affection education can only come from parents and the family. It cannot be obtained from society or schools. As a result, this aspect of family affection education becomes a topic that many people avoid discussing. Why? Because parents do not want to admit their failures. This is another unfortunate phenomenon within social relationships. Another type of family affection is the relationship between children and their grandparents or even great-grandparents. This bond tends to be relatively simple. Many children grow up with their grandparents or great-grandparents, and these elder family members show them unconditional love and care. In the child's heart, they know, or rather they instinctively feel, that their grandparents or great-grandparents love and care for them. The children also reciprocate this affection towards their grandparents or great-grandparents. This kind of family affection is often very pure and straightforward because it is not burdened by any other social conditions or factors. Many children have remarkably close and harmonious relationships with their grandparents or even great-grandparents, sometimes surpassing their relationships with their parents or siblings. This is a normal phenomenon. It should not be understood as a matter of the degree of family affection. The bond between children and their parents is indeed different from the bond between children and their grandparents or great-grandparents. In essence, the difference lies in how they treat the child and the everyday details of their interactions. In the real world, many children grow up in such environments where they care for their grandparents or great-grandparents, and this is indeed a normal expression of family affection. There's no need to debate this. Of course, there may also be some children who do not have a good relationship with their elders, and that is also normal because their most direct family affection is with their parents alone. Therefore, we won't delve into further discussions on these matters. Here we have only touched on some surface level phenomena. Certainly these phenomena are indeed related to social relationships, and how to understand or discuss these matters falls within the realm of sociologists and experts. It is not the domain for us to discuss here. Therefore, our focus here is primarily on the family affection between children and their parents, because in the vast majority of families, children grow up with their parents. Moreover, parents must have the responsibility and obligation to provide their children with good family education. This is the essence of our discussion on family affection. Family affection is cultivated from a young age. It is not something that can be developed only when children become sensible. This is not realistic. Family affection is also innate, which is why we often refer to it as a bond of blood relationship. There is a saying that goes, blood is thicker than water, which reflects this understanding. Family affection is inherent in the birth of a child. Therefore, the kind of family affection you instill in them when they are young will determine the kind of reciprocation you receive. Many parents, whether consciously or unconsciously, often attempt to manipulate or exploit family affection. To be honest, this is the most tragic aspect of being part of the human collective. There are numerous charitable organizations and groups worldwide that are working hard to find ways to help people and families in poverty-stricken areas, aiming to lift them out of poverty. However, despite their efforts spanning many years from the earliest and most primitive charitable institutions to the present day, the issue of poverty has persisted throughout human history over the centuries. Who has truly been able to help these impoverished and underprivileged families? One of the reasons for this challenge lies in traditional beliefs and human issues. With education being a significant factor, everyone acknowledges the importance of education, but when it comes to family affection, how can we address and resolve the associated educational challenges? There is no easy solution to this issue because family affection is something that all charitable organizations and groups cannot replace. The problem of family affection can lead to different worldviews for children. Even if you help a child escape poverty and place them in an affluent environment to grow, what will happen to a child devoid of family affection? Will they thrive? Not necessarily. Family affection is an innate human emotion that cannot be substituted. While we strive to help others, we must also recognize that family affection is something we cannot assist. For these issues are indeed complex social problems. Family affection in its most initial and primitive form exists in all our families from the moment a child is born. Utilizing and handling family affection well can bring about positive outcomes for a child's life and future. Indeed, the existence of family affection is diverse and it takes on various forms. There are many aspects and contradictions within it, and these issues cannot be resolved with just a single sentence or a brief discussion. Some of these complexities are beyond our ability to resolve. Indeed, I believe that each person should make an effort to influence those around them and the people in their to value, recognize, and handle family affection rationally. Only then can we ensure that we provide a positive attitude towards family affection education for our future generations and foster a healthy worldview for them. Alright, I will stop discussing the issue of family affection for now. There might be some more thoughts and questions related to family affection in the future, and we can address them then. Alright, let's stop here for now regarding family affection. Friends who are interested in my lectures, please click to subscribe and click on the little bell. At the same time, the links to the Big Tree Thinking Model Theory ebook and the Big Tree Thinking Model and Junior High School Mathematics lectures are here below. Friends can click on the link to watch related free lectures. Thank you all.